A new report from the American Legislative Exchange Council, better known as ALEC, demonstrates Americans living in red states that have more energy freedom pay much less for electricity and gasoline. One America's John Hines has more from Washington.
Residents of blue states with aggressive climate policies are paying much more for electricity and gasoline than red states. This is the finding of a new report from the American Legislative Exchange Council, or ALEC. And with us is ALEC's Energy and Environment Task Force Manager, Joe Trotter, who shepherded this report. So, Joe, what states are we talking about with the highest electricity prices, and what kind of green energy mandates do they have that make gas and electricity so expensive?
So we're looking specifically at three different policies that wind up impacting electricity costs. You've got renewable portfolio standards, which is basically the government mandating that you have to use certain technologies. It's the states and the politicians picking winners and losers. And frankly, the losers are the constituents who wind up having to pay out the nose for electricity.
So the states with the highest, I think, power costs, according to your report, California, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Vermont, New York, and New Jersey are 7 of the top 8 of these continental states in terms of the highest retail electricity prices. Coincidentally, these are all states which have gone whole hog on the green agenda. Is that right?
Whole hog on the green agenda, not just on the renewable mandates. They all have some sort of carbon tax. And at the end of the day, their constituents are paying the price.
Now, I think some of the lowest cost electrical states in terms of low cost electricity are the red states: Idaho, Wyoming, Utah, Oklahoma, Nevada, North Dakota, Washington, Louisiana, Nebraska, West Virginia. Why is it that these states, most of those are red states, and what is the connection between these states being perhaps red states in terms of their elected leadership, and then also having low electricity and most of them low gasoline prices?
So they believe in free markets. And in addition to being net energy producers, unlike New York, which has a huge amount of natural gas in its shales that it absolutely just refuses to tap, these states allow producers to go out and drive down the cost of energy for the people who live there. And then they also let the free market decide what type of generation is going to happen. They don't go ahead and say, we're going to have 50% solar, even if solar ultimately doesn't make sense in those areas. It lets the free market decide.
So what you're saying now is that the trend where electricity has gotten expensive in a lot of these states with a green mandate, chances are those electricity prices are going to go up. Is that right?
They're going to keep going up. And one of the very interesting things, and some Democratic legislators were very smart in pushing their agenda, they went ahead and tied the state's air quality standards and mandates to whatever California does. Now, California has what's called CARB, the California Air Resource Board, and they decide basically everything that has to do with gasoline, emissions, things like that. So in Virginia, for example, we are currently tied to whatever this unelected California board says.
Unless there's a significant investment, and that will increase costs, and so costs are going up. If people want to follow the green agenda, costs are going up. If people want electrical vehicles, costs for electricity will also go up, which changes the calculation of the affordability of EVs, I would guess, right?
It absolutely does. And on that note, you've got basically mining. A ton of mining has to go into these electric vehicles. These vehicles need way more copper, way more critical minerals that are currently in large part controlled by China and China's allies. A lot of these minerals are coming from like the Congo, Afghanistan. So essentially we're paying people off, not very good people. We're paying off the Taliban to go ahead and push this green agenda with taxpayer funds, and China's getting richer. It's absolutely insane.
Joe Trotter, who is from the American Legislative Exchange Council, ALEC's Energy and Environment Task Force Manager. Sir, thank you very much for talking to us on One America News.
Thank you for having me.